Most e-commerce brands think they have their email flows set up and complete just because they set up a few simple templates in Klayvio. But after generating $80 million for our email clients, auditing over 1,000 Klayvio accounts in the last 2 years, let me tell you what you're doing wrong. Nearly every single time I audit a Klayvio account, I find the same problems. Yes, they'll have a lot of the key flows built out, and it makes them believe they're driving a good amount of revenue from email. But they ignore going truly deep on the core flows that actually move the needle. These are left completely unoptimized, and for many brands, this is costing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in lifetime revenue. These 3 flows alone are vital for improving your customers' lifetime revenue, and they'll drive a significant amount of total store revenue when they're set up correctly. Firstly, I'm going to show you exactly how you should be setting up each of these flows so they become a real money maker for your business. Second, I'm going to show you the exact email structure we actually set up in our clients' accounts. We've done all the testing so you can cut out all the mistakes. And finally, I'm going to run you through all of the mistakes I see when I'm auditing accounts so you can steer clear of these and avoid the traps that 90% of e-commerce brands fall into. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete blueprint so you can build these 3 flows and have them driving revenue for you on autopilot year round. But just a quick note, this is not going to be a short overview video. This is going to be a full deep dive where we go right into the nitty-gritty of everything. So if you're crunched for time, maybe come back and watch this video later. But if you're ready to get stuck in, grab a coffee, pull up your Klayvio, and follow through step by step as I take you through it. Let's get into it. Firstly, what are your email flows and why do they matter? Well, flows are automated behavior-based emails that trigger when a customer takes a certain action. Now, this is different to campaigns where these are manual sends. So a campaign, you'll come up with an idea, you'll manually blast that out to your email list at a certain time. Your flows, like I said, these are what trigger automatically. So for your welcome flow, when someone joins your email list, they then go through your welcome flow until they place an order. When someone abandons a cart on your website, they go through the abandoned cart flow. If someone makes it to checkout and doesn't place an order, they go through that. When someone places an order, they'll go through your post-purchase flow and on and on and on. Pretty much every activity that a customer can take on your website, trigger an email flow that follows that customer up. Once you set these up, you turn them live, they run forever, simultaneously to all the campaigns you're sending, all the ads you're running, all the social media posts you're doing. These are your back-end weapon that follow up your customers exactly when they need to be followed up. Now, there's a reason these are critical, and as many of you who run e-commerce brands would know, CAC is rising. It's become harder and harder to acquire new customers in the last few years, and simply put, e-commerce is getting more and more competitive. It's never been harder to get traffic to your website. It's never been harder to convert this traffic, and it's never been harder to be profitable on this first order, let alone to get customers to come back and place a second, third, fourth, fifth order with you. This means that your entire funnel needs to be dialed, and the more that you can mitigate gaps between each step of the funnel, the more money you're going to be able to make. It's not enough to simply rely on ad spend anymore because you're just going to be burning money every time you have a little bit of a lapse in your customer journey. Whereas with your email flows, you're instantly going to be able to convert more customers into first-time buyers without having to spend more money on ads. For example, say you can get 1,000 people to your website. Traditionally, you might get 50 or 100 people add products to cart. I'm not sure. But from there, only 2% of that original 1,000 people are going to place an order, meaning the rest of them, they're just lapsed. And if you don't have good Klayvio flows in your back end to follow up these people who abandon cart, you're leaving money on the table. Whereas if that flow can convert an extra 10 to 20% of people that you otherwise would not have, you've made more money without having to increase your ad spend. Now, what you should also know is that your flows have the power to drive 50%, if not more, of your total email revenue. So say you're able to generate $100,000 a month from your Klayvio account, at least 50,000 of that should be coming from your flows. We've seen stores where 70% of their revenue, if not 80%, is coming from their email flows alone. Now, this is because everything trickles back to the flows. Like I said, when someone abandons a cart or someone abandons a checkout, they end up in your flows. But think about every time you send an email campaign, you might get 100 clicks on that campaign. Only 2, 3, 4, 5 people might place an order straight away. The rest of them, they're also going to end up in your email flows. They're the number one back-end stop for not letting customers fall through the cracks of your funnel and to actually convert as many people as possible. But like I said, there's plenty of flows that you can roll out in an account, but the 3 that we'll be covering today is the welcome series, which is the email flow for all of your new customers or new prospects who haven't yet placed an order. The abandoned checkout flow, this is the flow for everyone who starts the cart and checkout process who does not complete their order. And finally, the post-purchase flow, the flow you use to follow up with your newly acquired customers or your repeat customers. And I'll show you exactly how you should be treating these people to maximize your lifetime value. Now let's break down exactly how to build each one. Now, firstly, your welcome flow. This is one of the most important pieces of content you'll ever make for your business because these are customers or potential customers who have not yet bought from you, might not know much about you, who have just signed up to your email list. So this is your chance to build rapport, educate them on your products, tackle objections, show them why they should trust you. And we have the perfect opportunity here to do exactly that. We can educate them. We can show them what other customers are saying. We can provide them with the discount code in their pop-up form, all things that are designed to get them closer to converting. This is essentially your mini sales pitch for these prospective customers. But a lot of people get the welcome flow wrong. They think they need 8, 9, 10 really good emails, or they'll just make one email and set and forget it and don't worry about actually ever trying to educate their customers. But there's actually a middle ground here, which is really important that a lot of statistics back up. And that is the fact that most people who sign up to your email list, about 95% of them, will convert within a 72-hour window. After that, the next 5% of people who convert, they'll convert somewhere in the next 30 days. So we want to design a welcome flow that is very top-end heavy within the first 72 hours, and we definitely want to have content after that, but it's nowhere near as important as what we're sending in that first 72-hour window. Now, these are some things that we want to include in the welcome flow, and ideally within this first 72 hours. We want to deliver the discount and create urgency. We want to tell a bit about the brand story, welcome them to the community, something from the founder. We want to build trust by showing them as much social proof, reviews, UGC as humanly possible. And we also want to showcase our best-selling products, best-selling collections, and point them in the right direction so they know where to buy. So let's jump into Klayvio and I'll take you through it. Alrighty, so let's go through this welcome flow. This is ideally how we want to be setting them up and how we set them up at the start in most accounts. Obviously, once you test and optimize, it might look quite different, but straight away, this is what we resort to when we're setting up a welcome flow from scratch. So firstly, you have your trigger. This is pretty much anyone who joins your main list. For us, this is the newsletter list here. Now you can set this up on a segment, but segments are usually slower to trigger and it does result in a delay. So if someone signs up and you have this triggered on a segment, it might take 5 to 10 minutes for them to get the email. Whereas if we trigger this on the exact list they're going to join, it's going to send pretty much instantly. Now, the only real filter we need to have in here is placed order 0 times since starting this flow. Now, you might have preferences where you want to prioritize other flows, like if someone abandons checkout or whatever, you exclude them from this, but we like to pretty much send this all the way through until someone places an order. So that is all we're doing here, and that is your trigger. Straight away, you want to set up email 1. Now, this is going to be where you give the first welcome offer. It's very simple. You want to put the discount front and center in the email. I'll show you some templates shortly. People are here to get the discount, so we don't want to make it too hard. We don't want to put in any delays. We just want to give them the welcome discount straight away. Now, after that, we actually put a 12-hour delay. So we wait 12 hours and then we check with a conditional split here. Did someone open the first email in this welcome flow? If they didn't, we simply resend the same email with a different subject line to them. Like I said, this first 72 hours is so important. We kind of want to be aggressive. If someone didn't open our first welcome email and they still haven't purchased, it means they signed up to our email list and they probably went off and did something else. We want to send them the email straight away again, 12 hours later, different subject line, bump it to the top of their inbox. Now, after this, we wait another 12 hours and we send email 2. So for the people who did open the first email, they'll have a 1-day delay, 24 hours in total. For the people who didn't open the email, they'll be receiving their third email in about 24 hours. Now, this second email here, we like to use a plain text brand story. This is essentially when you're communicating the story from the point of view of the founder. It's really simple. We want to put together, and this is going to depend on how in-depth your story is, but if you have a really good story you can share here, by all means, do that. We want to tell the story about the brand, but we also still want to communicate the discount code and make it as clear as possible. So tell the story, weave in something about your products and your best sellers, and then communicate the discount code again. I'll show some good examples of this soon. Now, 1 day after this, so we're on to day 2, email 3, we want to be giving social proof, brand value. We want to be giving social proof and building the brand value. So super simple here. This is where we pretty much dump people a bunch of aspects or a bunch of elements that showcase trust. So full UGC photos or collections of UGC photos, products with the best reviews, the supporting reviews, image reviews. We just want to dump as much social proof as we can into this email because this is where we're going to overcome the trust hump. By now, someone has opted in, they've received the discount code. We should be highlighting best-selling products and collections in these first 2 emails. We've told them the story, connected with them, and hopefully resonated with them a little bit here. And now we're overcoming the trust objection. By now, we can probably gather that their objection isn't necessarily price. It's not necessarily that they don't know the brand because we've introduced them to that. It's probably they're wondering whether or not they should trust us, or they've already shopped somewhere else because of a price objection anyway and they found it cheaper, and there's nothing we can do about that. So it's really, really important here to showcase as much social proof and build as much trust as humanly possible. So there's more emails here which I'll touch on, but these first 72 hours, these first 3 emails are vital. Remember, welcome one, give the code, resend this to people who don't open, talk about your story, introduce yourself, and then dump social proof. So let's look at some examples of these emails. So let's jump across and look at some examples of these. This is, in my opinion, one of the best welcome flows you can do, and the perfect example of the first 3 emails that I showed you, and I'll take you through the 4th one as well. So first email, make the code, the offer, super simple. We want to show the branding so people know where we're from and they can start getting familiar with it. But then we just simply jump into 10% off, here is the code, here's the urgency, claim your discount. After that, we pretty much showcase some products, super simple. This is their best-selling products, and we actually explain the products too. So they're gonna leave this email knowing exactly what the code is and knowing exactly which product, or ideally knowing exactly which product they should buy. Then we finish off with some simple trust badges, super easy. But that's all we wanna do in the welcome flow. The first welcome email, we wanna get in, give the discount, get out. Now, second email here. This is the plain text founder story about the brand. Now, the founder actually wrote this for us. It's really good to get the founders involved with actually writing a bit of a story, but this is super simple way to communicate your welcome offer, but also tell a bit of story about the brand and build rapport. People care about that stuff, especially in this industry for this founder in particular, or this brand in particular. People want to be able to connect with the founders. It feels authentic, it feels real, and it gets great cut through. So this is a perfect example of a second email. We take people through the story, remind them about the code at the end, and sign off. Now the third email here, this is where we're talking about reviews and social proof. In this email, we took an us versus them angle. So if you zoom in here, you can see we actually compare this brand's products to other tallow skincare, to big skincare products, and we position these guys as the winner. This is a really comprehensive way for people to look through and get a really clear idea of what this brand stands for, as opposed to their competitors. You know, is it naturally different? Big Pharma, no. Is it quality? Big Pharma, no. Other tallow, it's over processed, whereas we're made with 100% Australian grass-fed and grass-finished beef tallow. This is a great way to position yourself as the winner, and then you scroll down and you back this up with reviews from the community. This is the ultimate trust building social proof email. This is exactly what we want to be doing, positioning yourselves as the solution, overcoming some objections, and then dumping as much social proof in the email as humanly possible. Now let's jump on to email 4 here. I didn't explain this before, but email 4, this is where we want to go through either bestsellers or tackle an objection. And it's never a bad idea to include more social proof in this. After this point, they haven't purchased. We want to be objection handling as much as possible. Now, the best way to tackle objections is to just face them head on. So we're busting myths here in this email, and we have a really good myth versus fact infographic here. Animal-based skincare isn't sustainable. Well, here's the truth. Tallow will clog your pores and cause breakouts. Well, here's the truth. Natural skincare isn't as effective. Well, here's the truth. We position ourselves as the experts, and we actually tackle objections at the same time. Now you scroll down. This is actually a block for people to follow you on Instagram, but it also serves as really good social proof. They can see 35,000 followers, UGC images. They start thinking they can really trust this brand. This is a brand with a community. So over these first 4 emails, particularly in the first 72 hours here in these 3 emails, we've given the code, we've told the story, we've showcased the social proof and why you should choose us. Now move to email 4. This is where we start getting into objection handling. We're busting myths here, taking people through the common myths or common objections they may have and telling them the truth or giving them the fact. That is what you want to be doing for these first 4 emails. The next 2, 3 emails, however many you want to add, they're definitely important, but they're not as important as this first 4, and I want to make that really clear. A lot of people talk about you need 7, 8 amazing emails in the welcome flow, but realistically, most people are going to buy within this first 72 hours We add a really good one at email 4 here to pick up the scraps and handle more objections. And of course, you always want to be putting your best content forward, but these ones aren't going to be nearly as important. And we essentially just want to rely on urgency to round out the rest of the welcome flows. So email 5, we put in a plain text from the founder. This can be really simple. Hey, just so you know, your code's expiring in the next 2 days. If you have any questions, please let us know, but jump on and use it before it expires. Something really personal, authentic, designed to get some cut through. Email 6, this is simply a last chance discount urgency email. You can put in countdown timers for expiring discount code, put in some more reviews. This is just where we want to go for the aggressive urgency. But after that, you're obviously free to add more emails here. What I typically do is find campaigns that have the best performance. So you can go to your campaigns, look at which ones historically have the best click rate, and just copy these and add these to the bottom of your welcome flow. So all new subscribers who don't convert within this first sort of 7-8 day window, they then just get a series of your best performing campaigns of all time. That sort of saves you from having to continuously build out new welcome flow content when you already have campaign content that's converting at a really high level. So just to run you back through the welcome flow here, email 1, we're giving the discount code. This is this one here. We're resending this after 12 hours if people didn't open. Then the next day, we're communicating the brand story. You can make this as vague or as deep as you want based on what stories you actually have. Then email 3 here, social proof, UGC, trust building. This is exactly what we're doing here, positioning ourselves as the experts and showing all the reviews. And then email 4, we're objection handling. As simple as that, these are the 4 you must have. After this, it's up to you. If you want to communicate more on your products, you can. The rest of this welcome flow is not going to be a massive needle mover for you, but it is a good backup for the customers who don't convert, who happen to still interact with emails. So for that reason, I prefer to go the urgency angle in these last 2. Super simple emails where you just focus on urgency. So that is the gist of your welcome flow. The common mistakes that brands make here that you need to avoid is A, only building out 1 or 2 emails. It's not enough. You usually don't communicate enough. You really need to have a strong 3rd, even a strong 4th email here. And the other mistake is focusing far too long on building out like an amazing 20 email welcome flow when people are probably going to lose interest after the 4th email and they're going to be really not likely to convert at all. The second mistake is not resending this first email. This is an easy win. Brands that do this easily get another 10, 15, 20% of people open and they convert more people here straight away with pretty much no extra effort or emails required to be built. The third mistake is not calling out your discount codes in these emails. Now I know you're going to say, oh, where's the discount codes in these ones? Well, these are actually campaigns that we've repurposed into the welcome flow. So I don't have the version with the discount code handy, but you get the point. Email 1 here, welcome 10, it's front and center. Don't bury it in the email. Don't make it impossible to find. It's right there for you. And email 2 here, when this is actually in Klayvio, we would hyperlink this so it stands out and it takes people straight to the abandoned check. Oh, it takes people straight to the product page, sorry, with the discount code already applied. Now, the last mistake you want to avoid is smart sending. Pretty much turn this off throughout the whole welcome flow. We want people getting the welcome flow emails no matter what. So don't if this is on, make sure you turn it off and hit save. That is pretty much summing up your welcome flow. It is so easy to do. You set it up on the newsletter trigger. You send these first 4 emails, which are vital. These are the 4 you need to have. And then after that, you just focus on rounding it out with urgency and adding in your best campaigns. Don't overthink your welcome flow. The first 72 hours is the most important. After that, add a strong 4th email for objection handling and go about your day. Leave it as is. That is all you really need. Now, how can you improve performance in this? It's gonna come to A/B testing this first 72 hours and A/B testing the offer that you're giving them. So you might be giving 10% off. That's great. If it's not working very well, you're probably gonna have better luck pivoting the offer than you are trying to recreate better emails. So the offer is gonna be most important to test, but then focus on A/B testing this first 3 days or these first 3 emails. After that, you're not going to get crazy incremental gains down here. So the performance is going to come down to majority these first 3 emails here, which we should be focusing majority of our effort on. Now that we've covered the welcome flow, let's jump across and start looking at your abandoned cart and checkout setup and how we recommend going about that. Now let's talk abandoned cart and abandoned checkout flows. There is a critical distinction to make here that you need to understand first. These are different flows. You should have an abandoned cart flow and you should have an abandoned checkout flow. Most brands I audit, they only have the abandoned checkout flow and they completely neglect people who add to cart. Now, why does this matter? Add to cart flow is going to pick up everyone who adds product to cart who doesn't make it to checkout. That is going to be a significant amount of users. If you go look at your funnel on Shopify, I'm sure that's hundreds, if not thousands of people on a week-to-week or a day-to-day basis. So your abandoned cart, this is for people who add products to cart and don't start checkout. Your abandoned checkout, this is for people who make it to the checkout process, but they don't finalize their order. Now, this flow is one of the most pivotal flows you can have in e-commerce. 70% of people abandon their carts. If you go to your website, you've probably seen the drop off. It's insane. Now, most people watching this, they probably also have an abandoned cart or most likely an abandoned checkout flow set up now. But if you don't optimize this and you don't pay attention to this and routinely A/B test it, you're just leaving incremental gain on the table. For the most part, these are high intent people. They don't need a lot to come back and place an order. They've already added products to cart. They've probably found something they've liked, but they got distracted with a phone call. Their Apple Pay wasn't working. Their wallet was out in the kitchen and they couldn't be bothered. They saw a funny Instagram reel or they're in the middle of watching Netflix. You know, they've been distracted. They might even be waiting for payday or something, but they're still really high intent people that can be converted with the right messaging. So our goal here is to simply recover the sale. And the best way to do that is going to be to initially just remind them, overcome any objections that they have. And for new customers only, we want to remind them of the welcome discount that we've given them. Now, my golden rule here and what I do differently from most people is I only give the discount to people who haven't placed an order with you before. Most brands fall in the trap of giving a discount here to pretty much anyone who goes through the abandoned cart or checkout flow, and they give this discount really early. Essentially, what you're doing is pretty much telling your customers all you need to do is leave a product in the cart and we'll give you a discount. This kills your margins and it kills your brand equity over time because you will have loyal repeat customers who are willing to buy full price, come through these flows and just get handed a discount on a silver platter. Instead, what we should be doing is waiting until about 72 hours have passed at least before reminding people of a discount. And then we should really only be giving this to new customers. If you want to be aggressive, you can give the discount in email 1, but only give this to your new customers who haven't placed an order. Besides, they've probably already seen this discount in the welcome flows. That's not the end of the world. But let's jump into Klayvio and I'll run you through how to set up the flow. Now, before I show you the structure for this abandoned cart and checkout, let me actually show you the key difference that I was talking about earlier. So if we actually navigate to our metrics tab in Klayvio, you'll be able to see there's added to cart, this Shopify metric here, and there's checkout started. These are two different flows that we want to trigger off. So for this brand, added to cart, you know, it's about 1,500 a day. They obviously launched Black Friday yesterday. They had like 35,000 add to carts or something ridiculous. But you can see two completely different metrics. And now I can actually show you this. So say yesterday, they had 35,000 people add to cart. If we go to started checkout, they had about 8,400 start checkout. So that's 27,000 people drop off from add to cart to start checkout. That is the difference for this brand on Black Friday day, obviously, but that relative percentage is gonna hold strong. About 60% of people are gonna drop off between the abandoned cart and the abandoned checkout for this brand. So if we didn't have an abandoned cart flow, we'd be leaving so much on the table. And then placed order, they ended up with 7,000 orders. So they had a really good checkout to placed order conversion, but 35,000 people added to cart, 7,000 placed an order. So there's about 28,000 there, if my math is correct, people who dropped off that we need to be taking advantage of. So that is the three metrics. Added to cart, don't worry about this old one with the little cog icon. That's old and outdated. This Shopify one is the one you want. Started checkout, and then obviously the placed order is the key thing here. Now, if we navigate back to our flows, we can actually look up our added to cart flow. So we have this on the added to cart trigger. We go in, take a look at how we set this up. Now you can see how we set this flow up for this brand. We're gonna run you through it. So look at the trigger here. This is what you need to know. What we do is we trigger it on the added to cart trigger that I showed you. Then, let me move my head for you. Then we have these profile filters. What someone has done, placed orders 0 times since starting this flow. So anyone who places an order, we don't want to go through the flow. They haven't been in the flow in the last week. So if someone adds a few products to cart, they're not entering it multiple times. They haven't started a checkout since starting this flow, because if they start a checkout, we want them to go to the abandoned checkout flow. And they've received the abandoned checkout flow 0 times in the last 30 days. And then here we have an exclusion list for this brand, which we don't want to include. So you need to make sure you have all of these triggers in place to ensure that only the right people are going through the added to cart flow. So that's super important. Now, how do we actually set this flow up? Let me run you through it. Now, if you use SMS, you can put it at the start here. We actually have it deactivated for this brand at the moment. You'll see it's in draft, but otherwise we have about a 1 hour time delay before the first email. Now this first email, it's a simple reminder. It's super easy. You can see we get about 3% of people convert straight away just on this first email alone. So just by sending a reminder 1 hour later, we recover about 3% extra people. And that's just from the email. There's a whole nother portion of people that will recover through an SMS if you send that, or they'll recover on their own. Now, 1 day later, we start objection handling. We get another 1% of people over the line here. That's great. So in about 2 days, we have close to 5% of carts back and placed an order. And this doesn't include the people who, have abandoned checkout and are getting recovered there as well, or people who might fall into a campaign, or like I said, people who have come back on their own. So first 2 emails are really simple. Email 1, you're sending a reminder. Email 2, you're objection handling. You're trying to overcome reasons they might be abandoning their cart and not coming back. It's very simple. Now, this is where the flow gets a little bit tricky. We have a conditional split here. This is where we split by people who have placed an order. So after we've got 1 hour, 1 day, 1 day. So after about 2 days and 1 hour, we have a conditional split here. What we do is we go, who has placed an order before? If yes, anyone who's placed an order before, we simply send 1 more email, just social proof, following these people up. These are return customers or people who have placed an order before. We don't want to be too aggressive with these people, and we certainly don't want to be giving them a discount. So we want to keep it super simple, focus on the reviews, get these people back across the line. Why these people keep coming back, and in here we actually gear reviews back to people who have been using the product for a long period of time. I have been using this now for about 6 months. It's a great way to let people know that they should build a routine around our product. Now, on the other hand, for people who haven't placed an order before, we're simply going back to the well and offering them the discount. You see how many people start to convert here. We got, over these 2 emails, about 3% of customers who abandon their cart who haven't placed an order with us before are getting over the line just by showing them the welcome discount that we've probably already given them in the welcome flow. Here in this email, we use a plain text to deliver it. And then in this last email, still thinking about tallow. For these 2 emails in particular, for this brand, we've actually tested and found plain text email in both of these worked the best. These are new customers. We've got a discount code. We can communicate a lot really clearly with plain text emails. So these get really good cut through, really good click rate relative to other emails in the account. So that's how we set this up. So to summarize, you've got a reminder at the top. You then have an objection handling email. Then for new customers, you simply just show them some reviews that lean into why they should be coming back to shop with you, the benefits of using your product again and again and again. For non-returning customers, brand new customers, we want to be giving them the discount code, communicating this simply. It can be through a design, but we prefer to do plain text, especially in this account. Now, let's take you through some visual examples of what this abandoned cart and checkout flow should look like. Now, these first 2 emails are simply straight from what we're looking at here. These first 2 emails in the abandoned cart flow. No code, sending the reminder, overcoming objections. So the first email here, left something behind, super simple, showed them some other products they may also be interested in with a trust block down here, 5-star reviews. Second email here, the salt shift difference, dynamic block. We want to show them the product that's in their cart. Show them some other products again, but also show before and afters, more UGC. We've sort of done this across 2 emails, but that's all you really need for the first 2 emails. Super simple, show what they left behind, show some other products, show reviews and UGC. Now, this is the email that goes back to repeat customers. Great to see you back, legend. You know quality when you see it. Remind them why they bought the product in the first place. Remind them of the problems they're trying to solve. They trust quality. They need quality. They want to look after their cars. Before and after, some other products they might be interested in, but this is super soft for your repeat customers. Now, we get into the branch here for first-time customers where we give the discount. Here we give 15% off with a code. You run them through this, before and afters, reviews. You go designed email, acknowledge the first-time customers, give the code. Second email here, plain text where we run them through a bit of the products and then give the code. And then third email, pure trust building, UGC, reviews, before, afters, whatever we need to do to overcome the objections that they're having, as well as remind them of the code. So that's how this structure looks visually. Email 1, email 2, reminders for everyone. We send an email specifically for repeat customers, which is this one here. Then we send an email specifically for new customers, which is giving them their code. This can be 2 or 3 emails long. Here in this instance, we've opted for 3 emails. But that's all you need to do in this abandoned cart and checkout flow. You don't need to overcomplicate it. The main thing is you want to treat your repeat and new customers differently. Give a code to your new customers. Don't give a code to your repeat customers. Remind them of the problems they were facing in the first place. Now, like I said, let's go back, look at this filter here for the abandoned cart email. We pretty much want to make sure they haven't placed an order and they haven't started a checkout. Let's jump out here and I can show you the triggers for the abandoned checkout flow too, as it is slightly different. Now for the abandoned checkout flow, way simpler. We just want to make sure someone hasn't been in this flow in the last week and they haven't placed an order since starting this flow. That's going to make sure the only people getting this are people who abandoned a checkout and didn't place an order. So now that we have the cart and the checkout out of the way, let's move on to the post-purchase flow, the final flow we'll be going through. Now, the post-purchase flow is probably one of the most underrated flows in e-commerce. Most brands think the hard work is done, they've acquired the customer, and that's it. But this is where the journey begins. This is where the journey towards retention and lifetime value truly does begin. In e-commerce, one of the biggest bottlenecks that a business will face is trying to get customers to place their second order. Getting people to place their first order is hard enough, and usually the second hardest thing to do is to get someone to place their second order. Once you can do that, it becomes exponentially easier to create a loyal customer who places 3, 4, 5, 6 orders, if not more. Now, within the first 24 to 48 hours after someone placing their first order with you, there's a really key window where someone's first going to experience buyer's remorse. So they're going to start to question, should I have spent that money? Do I really need this product? When's it going to come? And they start overthinking everything. And secondly, there's also a euphoria window where people are sort of in a buyer's high. You know, like they say, the easiest person to sell to is the person you just sold to. There's a key stat that I saw somewhere, which is happy customers or customers that have a really good experience with you are 5 times more likely to come back and place a second order. So the function of the post-purchase flow becomes ensuring customers have the best possible experience. You do that by removing as much buyer's remorse as possible and getting them excited for their order and potentially go for an upsell. Now, to do these things, we want to essentially educate the customers on the best way to use our products, help them form a routine or something similar if needed, let them know what's happening with their shipping, invite them to join your community or follow you on other channels where they're going to get good content, and offer a light upsell or maybe even a heavy upsell if you're really having problems getting people to place their second order. So let's jump over to Klayvio and I'll run you through it. So we're looking at a post-purchase flow here. The trigger you want to go on is, has someone placed an order? And the only profile filter we use is, has someone canceled order 0 times? So if someone cancels their order, we don't want them going through the post-purchase flow, obviously. But otherwise, it's just, has someone placed an order? We like to put a 5-minute delay on because people are going to get the Shopify order confirmation, that really default Shopify thing. Now, we usually split this out into new and returning customers. I'm going to focus on the new customer portion as this is the most important by far. Now, these are the emails that you need. Firstly, we have a thank you and a welcome. This is a simple thank you for placing your order. We don't want to be too pushy here. You can experiment with going for an upsell here, but it's pretty much going to be dependent on your goals as a brand. Now, the next 2 emails over the next 2 days is we're going to help remove buyer's remorse and help people start incorporating the product into their lives, give them the best tips and tricks. The best way to create repeat customers is to have customers that actually use your product day to day. So if we can help people get excited for their product, help show them how to use it day to day, tell them what to avoid or what to look out for, they're going to have a much better customer experience and they're going to be much more likely to come back in the future. And if they're not on a subscription, as this brand has subscriptions, we go for an upsell to get people to place their second order. This is after about 7 days. As you can see, we have a bit of a 15-day delay here before we show people the referral link. And then 2 days later, we're actually going for an upsell to get people to place their second order. So this also serves as a bit of a cross-sell flow. Now let's run through these emails one by one. So firstly, we have our first time buyer thank you email. This is essentially just thank you for your support. We're going to pack your order ASAP. Here's what to expect. You'll get notified when the order's with your courier, you'll get notified when it's on the way, and we'll let you know if there's any delays. And then we have some free gifts here to even further remove buyer's remorse. So, you know, different manuals, different guides, different free digital documents that are going to help people get the most out of their products. After this, we move to email 2. We opt for the plain text email here, which is going to help feel really authentic. So, you know, this brand has a bit of an older demographic. We want people to feel cared for. So here we introduce ourselves as the founder, tell them why we created the brand and what our mission is. We want to help everyday Australians take control of their health naturally and confidently. This is one of the key steps to removing buyer's remorse, is introduce them to the brand, make them feel like they're part of something bigger. So to reiterate, first email, we thank them, give them some free value, remove buyer's remorse that way. Second email, we help educate them on the brand and help them feel part of the community. So this is a really good email for breaking down those barriers and building a bit of rapport. The third email, we talk more about the community. We just give them an update. You've begun your internal health journey. So we're congratulating customers for starting their journey and taking control of their health. Great way to remove buyer's remorse. The fourth email here, this is where we actually start planting the seed for people incorporating this into a routine. So people who start using this product, the best way to get repeat customers is going to ensure that they actually use our product and run out of it. So, we give them some education on a routine here. Here's how to set a routine that sticks. Make your intentions clear, set your reminders and alarms, start slow, forgive yourself if you make mistakes. This really sets the customers up for having a positive habit that they build around our product, which is really, really key for product use. And if people use the product, then they then come back. You can see how the flywheel works here. Now, we then move to email 4. So we get these first emails out of the way. Thank you, plain text from the founder. Congrats on taking control of your health. Here's how you can start forming a routine. Then we leave people be. They're going to start receiving their order about now. That's fine. We let them enjoy it. 2 weeks later, we plant the seed with the referral link. This is a really good one for this brand. So we want to make this front and center after about 2 weeks. Are you feeling the difference? If so, you can get $5 off when you refer a friend. And lastly, after that, if 2 days later, this person hasn't placed a repeat order yet and they're not on a subscription, we want to go for the upsell. So we provide 15% off here and upsell people onto more products, only valid for 48 hours or 2 days. That is a really, really simple, easy run through of how you can set up a post-purchase flow and more so what you need to be thinking about. How can you remove buyer's remorse? How can you get people excited about their product and congratulate them on taking the first step to solving their problem? And how can you get them to incorporate the product into their routine or into their lives? Now, for supplements and stuff, this is a relatively easy thing. For something like a fashion brand, you also want to immerse people in the community, send them to your Instagram, get them taking photos of them with their outfits on, incorporating things that way. And if you're in something like fashion, you might want to give guides on, how to wash the clothes so they don't shrink, how to care for your product, etc., etc. Whatever's going to be valid for your brand is what we need to do. Care guides, manuals, tips and tricks, free value, whatever we can provide in this post-purchase flow that's going to build rapport with the customers, the better. And then of course, towards the end, we want to start bridging that gap between the first and second order by going for the upsell and even providing a discount like we did here. Now, the common mistakes you need to be wary of is not splitting this into new and returning customers. This whole flow is designed just for new customers who are potentially buying from us and building a routine for the first time. We have a separate flow here for repeat customers, which is a lot simpler. It's just thank you again. We actually make comment around the fact that they've returned and thank them for their support. And then we just give different product suggestions after that. Another thing, don't wait more than 24 hours to send the first email. We send this after 5 minutes. We just want to give some breathing room for checkout upsells to kick in and for the Shopify order confirmation to go out. Then we want to send the thank you email straight away. And the third biggest mistake that people make in this flow is not having any of this groundwork down the bottom here that I just showed you. Removing buyer's remorse, getting them excited for their order, showing them how they can incorporate the product into their day-to-day. These are all so key in the psychological journey of your customer. Remember, if they associate your product with a good experience, they're going to be more likely to come back. If they associate your product with a negative experience, it's going to be extremely hard to get them to ever shop with you again. This flow, I guarantee, will almost pay for itself with reduced refunds. If you're a brand that struggles with refunds or cancellations, this flow is going to pay for itself because it's going to keep customers in the loop and make sure they have a good experience. And if you're someone who does struggle to bridge the gap between the first and second order, this is going to be your first step to overcoming that. Now, if you set these flows up correctly, you can see how much of an impact they make. For this brand, the welcome flow by far the biggest revenue driver, followed by the abandoned checkout and a cart, which combined do about $10,000 in revenue there or just under. They then have the browse abandonment, but after that, the customer thank you flow is actually driving $1,500 in revenue. It's doing better than the abandoned site, the win-backs, or the replenishment flow, which is pretty much just from that upsell email that I showed you. Not to mention all the added value you get by removing the buyer's remorse psychologically and increasing the likelihood these customers come back and shop from you. So these flows are key. Obviously, you might have other ones like the browse abandonment in the mix, but you can see how important these first three are. You can keep the content that we discussed between the cart and the checkout pretty similar. And then the post-purchase flow is so important for that customer journey and removing buyer's remorse. Now, based on what I just showed you, you could easily go and build all of this by yourself, but it does take a lot of effort. So make sure you keep this video up, go through it step by step as you're building each flow. Or like I said earlier, I literally audit hundreds of Klayvio accounts every few months. So if you want to get an audit of your Klayvio account, simply book a call in. We do this for free. We'll do a comprehensive deep dive on all your campaigns, your segmenting, your flows, your deliverability, your pop-up form, and everything in between. between. I'll show you what's broken, what's missing, where the quick wins are, and give you a more personalized guide on what you need to do inside your account. We've worked with over 180 brands in the last 12 months and generated over $80 million in email revenue. So I'm very confident I'll be able to find things in your account that you can improve on. You can find the link to book this in down in the description of this video. That being said, I want you to view this channel as your go-to source for everything email marketing related. So drop a subscribe because we're going to be making videos like this every single week. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.